I just bought this 2024 GMC Sierra 1500. It's an elevation package truck. It's got the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder in it, and it didn't come with a brake controller from the factory. And I found out the hard way when I went to go hook up my camper to it one day. I had 600 miles in the truck. We were getting ready to go on a camping trip. I hooked my camper up, filled the thing with bikes and scooters in the bed, had it all loaded down, went to pull it out of the back lot where I store it, and went to go test the brakes out on it. And then I'm looking for the brake controller on the bottom of the dash, and there's nothing there. And I'm looking around everywhere for it, and I'm like, oh, it's up here. That's actually your upshift and downshift and tow haul. This truck does have the towing package, so it does have the tow mode here, which you can press there, and it's got the hitch in the back too, but there's no actual brake controller anywhere on it. So I called the dealer, had them, and the guy said, oh yeah, I'm gonna order you a part for it. It's no big deal. It's just a plug and play system. And then I thought about it afterwards, and I'm like, well, they didn't tell me what the part number was or anything. So then I called back to the service department. The first time I talked to the parts guy, called back the service department and asked them about it, and they had no clue at all. And he was like, I'll reach out to GM and I'll ask them. And I waited a couple of days, didn't hear anything back at all. Did my own research, and from what I've found is that these trucks, if they did not come with a brake controller from the factory, the only option you have is to install an aftermarket brake controller, and that's what GM will actually do too. Curt makes a system for these trucks that plugs right into the factory harness, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. And there's a lot of other aftermarket options too. You can put the like the Prodigy standard squeeze mount controllers, and you can just mount them underneath here somewhere. Or I didn't really want to do that because I didn't want something that stuck down, and I wanted to look relatively factory. So here's what I'm going to actually do. I ended up buying this filler piece right here, this trim plate, whatever you want to call it, bezel, and I bought it for a truck that would have come equipped with a brake controller, because from the factory on this model, I don't know if this applies to the Sierra, for the Silverado, this is a Sierra, but they would have had your brake controller right here. It would have been a squeeze, 2-pedal squeeze right here, and then they take your push start and they actually move the push start over to here, and then that's your brake controller. So what I ended up doing was I ended up buying these right here. Actually, so I screwed up the order the first time, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to make a video because I have the wrong example here and I have the correct one. Let me pull this out. Okay, so here I can actually show you the comparisons here. I'm not even going to tell you the part number of the wrong one because I wrote this down wrong, and I ended up ordering this. It was only like 14 bucks or something, but through GM. Here's what I have in the truck currently. You can see the push start right there. It's actually a really big piece, and looks like you got to pull a bunch of trim off to get to it, but this is what I have. This is no good to me because I ordered it wrong. And this is what I actually need right here. So you buy it just like this. Same thing. It's like 25 or 30 bucks shipped. I got it in like a day from Michigan, from a GM Parts website. And this is what I'm going to put in. So you can see that the push start is actually moved over, and they recessed it in so it looks good still. And then this filler plate is separate. I had to purchase that separately. And that's this. I'm going to give you all the part numbers after. So I'm going to take this part and install it in the truck. And then I have the Curt brake controller. I'll give you this part number. It's also going to be in the description. Everything, the trim bezel, filler plate, and the brake controller I'll put right in the description. This is going to end up going right on here. And it'll look semi-factory when it's done, I think. At least it's in the factory location. The only thing I think that is going to be kind of stand out is that this is kind of a satin or a matte black instead, which I thought about trying to maybe run a heat gun over it to see if I can shine that up a little bit, possibly. I don't know, it might be a bad idea. I'm not sure. But this will mount flush right to there. The wire will go through the back, and then you'll have your brake control right here. I'm going to try using an adhesion promoter. I'm just going to put a little bit on here because this is plastic. And I'm going to end up using I have a trailer gloss paint, high solids paint. This is like for tractor trailers and stuff. Get it from an industrial supply company nearby me, but it works really good. So I'm going to try that, see if I can make this look better. Put one thin coat of adhesion promoter on. You're supposed to let that cure for about 5 minutes, and then I'll hit it with a gloss black paint. Okay, as far as this trim piece goes, I just put a little plastic trim tool on the other side on the flat spot and just gently start prying on it. And it looks like it's gonna come right off. I just open up the passenger side door. I'm gonna pull this off. Really don't want to break anything. This truck is like brand new. Oh, see, it's a good thing I checked. There's a fastener right there. So let's get that off. Okay, 7mm. Probably actually standard, but it's a good thing I checked that, because I would have just started pulling on it. Would have broke that right off. All right, let's try that. Okay, came right off and I didn't break anything. So let's set that actually in the back. Gently. And then there's one more trim piece in the bottom here. That is right here. I can see there's a fastener there. Don't drop your tools, doesn't do you any good. There's one there. I assume there's gonna be another one right on the other side. Well, let's go over. Yep, there's another one right there on the driver's side. And then let's see what I gotta do to take this down. Looks like maybe you're gonna try to take more off than I need to, but everything just plastic clips. It's this side. Oh, that was pretty easy. And then there's another one here. I gotta get this lower panel off. All the clips are cooperating so far because the truck's so new. All right, we go back to the other side. No sooner than 2 seconds later and the thing pops right down. So I'm gonna go through now and remove, there's a bunch of bolts here, all the way around it. Just gonna remove those out, and then I have to get these HVAC controls out, which I assume is gonna be pretty easy, so let's do that. Okay, all the screws are out, and I just gently pulled this thing out. So now there's a plug here, and it looks like there's probably a little, I'm not sure. Oh, I bet you that's the factory brake controller plug right there. It doesn't go to anything. However, we're not using that because I was told that there is modules missing to put the factory brake controller in or something. I don't know. So I'm gonna pop this clip out. Looks like there's a little red indicator there. You gotta pop up first. Try to see if I can do this with one hand. Probably not. But I'll get a little flat blade and just pry up on those little red things, and then they should push right in, pop out. All right, I'm just swapping everything over on here right now. I got my HVAC controls out, and these are just tabs in the back side here. I got a little pry tool here, a little plastic pry tool, and I just stuck it down in here, just gently, and pushing pressure on the back side and pushing on those tabs. Just gently work your way around a little at a time and just putting a little bit of pressure toward it, and it pops right out. It took me a couple minutes to figure it out, but now that it's actually out, I take this and this goes this way, goes in from the back side. It should just pop right in place. I'm gonna need 2 hands for this. Okay. Just make sure everything's clicked in, which it did. And now this is ready, short of that filler plate. So I'm gonna go check on the paint and see if that's dry enough yet to put that back in. Okay, here's the finished product. Paint didn't come out perfect on that, but it looks pretty good. Someday I may pick up another piece and try to put a higher quality paint on there, but that's all they do, is they just paint these from the factory too. So there's a double-sided tape that you put on the back of this ring right here first. Stick it down where you want it. There's a couple screws that fasten in place. And then I used the drill bit and drilled out the center so that the wiring fit behind it. You had to get creative with that a little bit to make sure the wiring could fit through there. And just pop it in place. You can see those screws sticking through right there too. So now I can plug all this back in, fish my wiring nice and neat down the back, and then we'll figure out how the plugs and the modules and stuff work. So I'm going to just reverse all this and put it back in. Alrighty, that's back on and bolted in. You have to, this left side right here, it tucks underneath this trim piece right here. So you gotta put it on an angle first, tuck that under, and then line it up. And then there's 2 clips in the back here. You just gently push it on. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fasteners that hold it on. And now I'm gonna put all the lower trim back on, and then the upper trim. All right, screw there. This pops back in, and then the lower piece pops in over it. There's another screw over here, right there. And now I should be able to put this upper trim piece back on, which there is some clips. You got to make sure you line all those up. I'm going to do this with 2 hands. Okay, push all this back on. There's a little clip in the corner. Just gently finesse all that back on. Make sure it's lined up. There was a screw on that other side by the fuse panel that you got to take on the lower screw down, and then you can pop that lower panel down a little bit, and there's a little tab that has to fit down first. You'll see it on that side, so pay attention to that. Everything else just clipped back in, so that's all in now except for this lower fuse panel, which actually there's one more screw that goes right here. I was gonna leave this panel off to get the wiring, but it doesn't look like I can really see or get to anything with this panel off anyway, so I'm gonna just put it right back on, and then we'll have to fish some wires up underneath there. This goes this way, actually. It's actually nice. Like, the clips are kind of cheap, but it all goes back on together so easy. There we go. That's it. So here's our wire now. Now I gotta look at the manual and figure out somewhere under here there's a plug that I gotta get to up under there. I think I gotta get a light under there. Can't really see it right now. I think it's actually this guy right here. That gray plug right there. Try to get this thing to focus. Right there. See that? It's actually a dummy plug. I think you can take, yeah, see? That's a dummy plug in case you want to wire in an aftermarket one, but I think the wiring kit that I have has this already. Let's look. Yep. Look at that. Very nice. Trying to do this one-handed is difficult. Use zip ties too. So that goes into your actual body plug. This goes into your module, and then that plug from the dial inside goes in right there. Not there, right there, I think. Oh, actually, it looks like there's a conversion plug right here also. Okay. A lot of plugs and wiring. Okay, so this looks like it goes, the big flat plug goes onto the module, and then the little end goes to the dial. Let's check all that out. All right, just like I suspected, there's a bunch of conversion plugs and stuff here. So that big harness goes to your module, like I said. There's a little harness right there that runs from that to here, and that's what goes up to your dial. So, and then you just plug this into the body harness, and then I gotta find my inner patience to lay under here and try to wire all this in. Not wire it, but run my wiring neatly. So I'm gonna go get a light and some zip ties and mess with that. All right, that was probably my least favorite part of the whole job, but I used the sticky tape on the back of the module, mounted that right there, just stuck it to the side of this module and wiring right there. Tuck my wires up in the back there, zip tie it to this duct, goes up underneath there. It's not the prettiest, but you don't see any of it until you crawl under the dash. Otherwise you don't see it. So let's try it out, see if it works. I kind of like how this remote start button, the push start button's over here now. Nice. Truck still starts, so that's good. Hey, we got power. Shut this light off. I don't actually know how this works yet, so I need to it's doing stuff though, so I'll hook a trailer up to it and see if it works. All right, here we are, pulling with the brake controller on. Got my landscape trailer in tow. It's a 16-foot trailer loaded down. Took me a little bit to play with some of the settings and stuff on it, but it seems to work really well. And this is the first time I've towed a trailer with this truck, and I am so impressed with how well it does. This trailer is about 6,000 pounds, all the mowing gear and stuff I have in it right now, and it's just eating it up like it's nothing. I can't believe it. See, I got the brake controller activated right now. I just felt it start to engage in the back. I'm gonna go through these modes real quick. There's a couple different, I recommend reading the manuals. It's a little confusing, but they give you this little card with it too, a quick reference card. And I'm gonna keep this in the truck, so this is really helpful. Gives you all your different color modes. So if you go through the settings here and you click on it, that is your, let's see, output right there. So you can adjust your output and it gets into the red. Obviously you're never really gonna use that. I started playing around with it in the middle and it was way too much, even with that much weight in there. So I kept it down by 2 bars there or so. And then, that's gonna vary depending on your trailer weight. And then if you click on the mode again, this is your sensitivity, which I had turned down. It's basically like a delay reaction, I think. When I stepped on the brakes, it would take like 2 or 3 seconds for the brakes to actually activate. I didn't like that, so I turned the sensitivity all the way up. And then the next setting is just your white lights. That is your brightness indicator, so you can adjust that. I have it all the way down right now, but you can also turn it all the way up, which is like obnoxiously bright. So I'll keep that all the way down, click it again. Back to your output settings again. There's also a blue if it's disconnected. There's an overload, which I'm not sure how that works, and there's a calibration mode also, which is how it says ramp up, so I got to figure that out. But other than that, it was pretty simple. It seems like it works great. I don't have any issues with it yet. That was just my first test drive with it, but point is it works. Everything plugged in. I don't think it looks too bad. I'm kind of debating on whether I would have put it here or not instead, but I do like that it's you can access it easy. Oh, also something to notice too, if you're driving down the road and all of a sudden someone slams on the brake in front of you, if you press this button in, that's manual mode, and you could just press it in and turn it all the way up, and that turns your brakes all the way up. Now, not really sure how that would be in an emergency situation, because you want to be able to just grab something real quick. Maybe it wouldn't be too bad if you have to just press the button and turn it. But hopefully you never actually need that. I like the idea that you have a squeeze tab though for an emergency. But one other thing I'm doing in this truck to prepare it for towing, because I do have a big camper 30-footer, and then I tow the landscape trailer quite frequently. So I am going to pull this truck once in a while. And when I put the camper on the back of this thing the last time, it squatted quite a bit. Like, it doesn't have a whole lot of rake to it already, but the back was level with the front, and the front's pretty low, or a little bit lower. So I was a little concerned about that. I never actually got to tow with it until just now when I took the landscape trailer for a drive to test the brake controller out. But I purchased these around the same time, so I'm going to do these right now also. They look super easy to do. These are just a bigger polyurethane, I think, type material, or I think they're polyurethane. And they are just a dampener, basically. So they go in place of your factory bump stops. I just took one out, which sits right above the leaf spring in the back here. Right, I'll get in there and show you in a minute, but I want to show you a comparison in the height of these. So while I got them all out, these are Sumo Springs, just like Timberins basically, but I heard that these are a little bit softer than the Timberins Sumo Springs are. So you can see the height difference here. So the idea is that these aren't going to touch the leaf spring when you're driving unloaded, but once you have the truck loaded down, you're basically riding on this instead of just nearly bottoming your suspension out. So you're gonna have a little bit of a firmer drive, but these still have some compression to them where it's not gonna feel like you're just riding on a pile of rocks. So they're a little expensive. I think I paid like 250 bucks for these, but I do have hopes that they're gonna help. I don't wanna put airbags in this truck and have it ride really stiff. My 3/4 ton's got airbags, and even with them aired down, it's still, you're supposed to keep 5 PSI in them all the time, and the truck rides rough. So I don't care because it's a hauling truck. I don't want this truck to be that rough all the time because I'm not always gonna have a trailer behind it. So I'm gonna put these in. These just have a 10mm bolt right in the center. Here's the part number for this particular truck. It goes through and tells you what applications this is for. I want to screenshot that if anybody's interested. And then it also gives you lift blocks too if you have your truck, if you have like a level kit or something in it. I don't think I'm going to be needing these, but we'll check. It gives you the longer bolts for the longer spacers, which I'm not going to need. And it gives you the short bolts for the regular ones. It also gives you Loctite, which is nice. So I'm going to put this in real quick, and I'll show you a comparison between the two sides. All right, just to give you an idea of the height here. Here's your factory bump stop. You can see the distance you have between there. It's quite a bit before that thing compresses this at all. And then if you take your Sumo compression here, put that in place, you have about 1.5 to 2 inches, which is plenty just driving around. You're just, without a load in the bed, you're not going to feel any of that at all. It's not going to touch that. If it does, it's going to be hardly at all. So you won't feel the ride quality change with these in. So I'm going to put this one in. They are an 18mm bolt in the center of these. The factories are a 10mm, and I'm going to get this side going. Those are both installed now. See them up in there. I put the jack under the trailer hitch right here to give me some more room, because otherwise I wasn't able to get the ratchet out. So I want you to see how far these sit above the leaf springs now with the jack down. You still get plenty of clearance for regular driving where those aren't going to make any contact. Something else I thought was kind of funny that I found under there. I found a piece of paper rolled up underneath the back. Pulled it out, and it's like an inspection sheet. This was a Mexican built truck. It tells you the time, whatever was the rear axle or something somebody did underneath. Looks like it's a third shift truck. I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing, but just thought that was funny. I'm gonna keep that. Here we go. That's it. 2024 Sierra 1500. Hopefully this helps somebody else out, because I spent some time reading some different forums and what I was gonna put in this truck. And now it's in. I don't have to worry about it. I can take my camper on the next camping trip, and I'm gonna try to pull my 7,000 pound camper back there loaded down, and we're gonna put the Duramax aside this time. See how this little 4-cylinder does. Thanks for watching. If you guys, this video helped you out at all, give me a thumbs up.